The agenda at this point, we're on item 4, briefings or briefing by the representative of MOFI. So, Mr. Armstrong, you have the floor.
Thank you, distinguished Chairman, Your Excellency, the Vice Chairman, and distinguished committee. First of all, on behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to thank you for the privilege and the invitation to share with you the mandate of MOFI, and then to also discuss the work we're doing in the housing sector, which I believe is something that is critical for this committee. Let me start by giving some background about MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated. The Ministry of Finance Incorporated was started by an act of parliament that dates back to 1959, even before independence. And it was established for the sole purpose of ensuring that for all the federal government's investments and assets that are commercial in nature, MOFI would hold that on behalf of the federal government. It was on the back of that and the basis of that that most commercial enterprises that federal government established and had interest in terms of shareholding, that shareholding of federal government was held by MOFI, starting from the days of NITEL, Nigerian Shipping Lines, and then today, the ones that are existing, NNPCL, after the PIA came into effect, the 50% that belongs to federal government is held by MOFI. The federal government shares in Bank of Industry are held by MOFI. The federal government shares in Federal Mortgage Bank are held by MOFI. Family Homes Funds, the 51% by federal government is held by MOFI, and many others as well. Prior to February 2023, MOFI was effectively a shelf company. In other words, when federal government needed to have a shareholder in any commercial enterprise and needed to present an entity to hold the shares, MOFI will be used as that entity to hold those shares. It never actually existed as an operating entity. And as part of the reform that the President Buhari had initiated, there was a general observation that contrary to global best practice, if MOFI is holding those shares for assets or investments, there was also a responsibility to ensure that we are proactive in ensuring that those investments and assets are delivering value and dividends to Nigeria and to Nigerians. The same way that if any of us were to go and buy shares in any commercial enterprise as a shareholder, you would expect that every year that entity would deliver dividends to you as a shareholder. But that hasn't been the case, or wasn't the case, because most of those investments that were made and MOFI held shares on behalf of the federal government were not delivering value to federal government. In fact, there is one where for 30 years, not a single dime, not a single kobo was ever delivered in dividends to federal government. On the contrary, federal government's holding in that reduced in value.